All right, hello and welcome to the Business Octopus live stream, where we talk about all things sales, marketing, and technology. I'm Avon, CRM and marketing automation specialist at Relevate, and today we're going to be talking about shelfware. What is it? Why is it a problem? And why do you need to be worried about it? Why fix it? All those sorts of things. So, a lot of times in a business, the problems are really easy to see. They're things like budget constraints, dealing with wages, real estate, insurance. But the invisible costs are a little bit harder to pin down. These often include things like software, productivity, all of those sorts of things. Software is a vital component of running a business today. It's undeniable. There's always, an app, a system, a plugin. We're using something right now to display this video. But shelfware, that's software that's unused or underused. So it's something that's you've got, you've used at one point, you've selected, you've chosen it, and either on your computer or you've got a license for, or that you're paying for it, and you're not really using it. You're not taking advantage of the technology, and either you don't need it anymore, or you kind of needed it, or you really do need it, but no one's adopting it. So it could be a real budget killer. And if you don't keep track of the software you have, you could end up spending a lot of money on tech that nobody uses. So what is shelfware? Shelfware might be an outdated, clunky system. Employees don't like it, maybe. Maybe they're not familiar with it. Application that doesn't really bring value, but then has a high per user cost. Well, one study shows that on average, each computer in every office in the world has about $259 of unnecessary, unwanted, and unused software on it. Now, that's saying on a device. So that could be kind of understood, because there's lots of stuff that is generated by these software companies, like the printer app, that I don't care about. I just want my printer to actually print paper. I don't want the old backstory of 10 different things that printer company thinks that I should do using their application, because there's probably something better. But then there's other things that you've probably paid for, like you get out of the Microsoft suite, you get a whole bunch of things. I don't think I've ever really used Publisher more than once. I don't really like Access Database. But shelfware can become really, really expensive, because it's not just the software that's on your computer. It's all the stuff in the cloud. Have a think about yourself, and if you've got something that you're using right now that you're paying for, but you're not actually getting use out of it, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And if you're watching this on any other channel, YouTube is where we put our comments. So if you want to go over to YouTube, you can put the comments in the chat, and then I can see them live and respond to you. But shelfware, the problem goes beyond just saving money on software and systems. Inadequate, outdated technology leads to about 18% of employees downloading unauthorized employee apps or unauthorized third-party software. So that's what you call like shadow IT. It's where you've got the company mandated system, but it's slow, it's clunky, people don't like it, they don't understand it. And so they try a workaround. They go and buy, something like Monday.com. Looks nice, got lots of colors, things wiggle when you click it, makes a sound, makes people feel good, but it's crap. You've got very little reporting capability. You've got limitations on what it connects to. They get caught up in the marketing hype of these platforms, and because they look and feel nice, it kind of ruins the point of having the software in the first place, particularly in an enterprise business where you need to have accountability. There's process, there's audit control. You need to be able to manage multiple, maybe millions of records in the system at any one time. So you want to make sure you've got a system that is, one, being used, two, scalable. And one other problem I see is that whenever a software company implements a solution, they don't keep updating it with the business needs or based on the feedback or the business process. They kind of spend all this money on an investment and then they'll only come back to it 6 months, 12 months, 5 years later to try and bring it up to standard to today. And there's the time cost. So nearly 70% of employees say they spend up to an hour navigating between applications. So if you try to get it all in one, it might be efficient, but then you might have one system over here and one system over there. I recently heard of a case of a very large multinational that if you heard the name, you'd know it no matter where you are in the world. And they have these systems where they've got two systems that, and sometimes that happens because of mergers and acquisitions, but they had two separate systems. And so the employee would have to put everything in one and then do exactly the same process in the other. So it was, and then there's other issues where some employees refuse to do it in both. So they'll work in the platform that they prefer, and then they have to hire extra people to go and copy that data into the other things because those higher level people or time poor people or self-important people, they didn't want to do the double data entry. And so things like, email, file sharing, video conferencing, various office programs, employees report losing about 22 minutes per day dealing with technology related problems. So the user experience has to be good, not only from the customer side, but from the employee side, because that's costing you money. But why does shelfware happen? Well, there's lots of reasons why unused or underused software becomes a part of the ecosystem, but it's not always a bad thing. So you might have trialed something. Maybe you thought you'd give it a go, like a small test case with a department or a small team of people that are working on something. That's totally fine. That's probably the best thing you can do. You've got innovative practices. You're seeing how things go, not only from a adoption and business process perspective, but also from a integration perspective. And, I, as the power user, might love the tool, but then I go and put it into the workplace and then no one does anything with it. And the other good thing about trialing things is that it gets the team ready for change. So you don't have that same issue of people not wanting to adopt something later because they kind of already warmed up to the idea that they're going to be moving software systems anyway. Right. Because, you don't want people to be saying, oh, well, I'm used to doing it this way. I don't want to do it any other way. If you do that in business, you pretty much signed your death warrant. So you may as well get used to change, innovation, new ways of doing things. All right. So sometimes, your shelfware results in people finding workarounds, outdated systems, IT departments implement software, which is great on the back end, gives them lots of admin capabilities. But then for whatever reason, the software doesn't get taken up by or it doesn't support the organization's goals because it's not used effectively by staff. So you could say, we want reports on something. And we get it all the time. We get clients go, I want to see a report on something. First question I ask is, great, have you been collecting the data for that report? And quite often it's no. Or, we've got systems, but we're not really using it effectively. So if the system is not naturally collecting the data, we need to build it into the process. So you might have a survey or a question or something that you add into your everyday business process, and then have a report that then can report on it. But then you also need to understand how many times do people not enter that field, unless you force it, unless you say that no transaction can continue unless this question is answered. That's one way to make sure that you collect that data point. So you've got to be a little bit, collaborative with your team to not frustrate them in every transaction because you want to collect some metric. It should have business value. And, if they can understand why you're collecting that bit of information, that's going to be a lot more valuable than just saying, from now on, you must get the eye color of every employee or every customer coming through the door. And the employee is going to say, why? Who cares? Who's watching? Who needs to know this information? And what bearing does it have on the output of the business? They're just going to throw their hands up in frustration, and they're not going to use the system, or they'll find a workaround. So, how do you identify current shelfware in your business? Well, first thing, you could probably look in your accounting system to see, or your credit card or your invoices to see what you're paying for. And then from that, you can start to look at maybe time tracking on each of those applications to see, and you can do that through the server side. You could do that through employee monitoring if you choose to do that. And that'll give you an indication on how long people are spending in each of those applications. It's kind of like that 5 why. You ask why 5 times and say, why aren't you using it? Because I don't like it. Why don't you like it? Because it's clunky. Why is it clunky? Because I have to answer 50 questions to do anything. Why do you have to answer 50 questions? Because the system is set up to do that, or something like that. That's that 5 why that you can ask as to whether or not, and get a broad cross section. If there's only 1 or 2 people that are using the system, then that's probably a failing. So then, once you've got that informed knowledge of how long people are using, or how much people are using platforms, and whether or not it's contributing to productivity, then you're better placed to replace it with replacing unused applications. And to prevent it going forward, you can say, what do we want to accomplish? These are the questions you would ask. You would say, what do we want to accomplish? Do we really need it? Will it integrate with our existing technology? And will it solve more than one workplace issue? So can you combine it so there's less things that people have to jump through? Or maybe you collect the information over here and push it into that other app. So think about it like rocks and sand. If you got a jar, you can put the rocks in first, then you can fill it with all the sand, and you get everything in. But if you put the little minutia in, then you can't fit the rocks in. Anyway, that's more of a visual example, but you get the idea. All right. So shelfware is something that causes major issues in many organizations. Talking about adopting technology, we do a lot of programs. We have a methodology on how to help people to adopt technology and avoid that shelfware problem, or turn around the issue of having shelfware problem. So if you like this, or if you've got any other questions, you can join us in the Relevate community at join.relevate.com.au. And if there's any questions you'd like me to discuss on the live stream, feel free to tune in and post your comment in the chat. And then we run these every Friday. So every Friday at about 8:30 a.m. Brisbane time. And you can catch the replay. I'll be posting this onto YouTube. All of it, or it gets saved down onto Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. But please do come over to the YouTube channel, give us a subscribe. We do meet weekly in the Relevate community. We have a networking catch up every Monday night, if it's based on Australian time, at 7:30 p.m. and then a rest of the world catch up on Thursday at 10 till 11 p.m. Subject to, depending if you're watching this, subject to time zone changes. However, I hope you enjoyed today's session. Look forward to catching up with you next time. You take care and have a great day.